All right, so what forms does it take? This is nuts and bolts. I really want to leave you all with a taste of the nuts and bolts. You know, your congregational life, I'm available, your congregational life staff, other people have done this, can help go deeper. So this is going to be a quick sort of Cliff Notes version of the how-to, but it still will be a little bit practical. I want to help you think around what kind of theme-based church is right for you. So in general, you have a couple different decisions to make. 3 basic choices, or 3 different dimensions that you have to kind of pick that determine what kind of theme-based church model you use. The first question you have to ask yourself is 3-year rotation or varied monthly themes. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to explain these 2 choices, and then I'll tell you which one I did, and I'll make an argument for why that one's better. And the great thing about this is I'm going to use mostly examples of my model versus my good friend Marlon Lavenhar's model in Tulsa. So don't, well, this is taped again, but I'll be able to argue vicariously with Marlon here. The 3-year rotation model, this is Marlon's, right? This is Marlon's where he picked 3 years, where there's 1 year has this set of 10, second year is this set of 10 themes, third year is this set of 10 themes, fourth year you go back to year 1, start over and over and over. Now that 3-year rotation, the huge benefit of that is stability and depth. There is power 3 years later coming back to the same theme of revelation. Right? Come back to these old powerful theological words. That's why Marlon, I mean, to his credit, that's why his model of using the big words works, right? To come back to those words again and again, you have to come back to them and rethink them and make them come alive. So there's a depth and a stability to that. The varied approach is you change your themes each year. Different ones every year. The advantage is there, I would argue, is it avoids the simple things. It avoids boredom, it breaks things open, and it has a little bit of the it factor. Marlon considers himself hipper than me, so he hates it when I say my program has the it factor rather than his. But it's edgier. You know, think about that. 1 year we did, it allows you to be a little more flexible. We have settled into, because the sharing circle that we're a part of has settled into, but there was a time before we joined the sharing circle, it was just us. We did 1 whole year of archetypes of the spiritual journey. So that was a year of personalities. Liars, lovers, gamblers, you know, tricksters, like different personalities. That was edgy. You know what I mean? Like that had a sort of a cool thing. People would invite their neighbors and their coworkers, you know, and said, hey, my preacher is preaching on Revelation this Sunday. Come along. Yeah. You know, but my preacher this Sunday is preaching on liars or lovers. All of a sudden, you know, that changes the it factor, so to speak. The other thing is, again, when you're able to do a varied approach and do it differently, it's what we already been talking about. It breaks old things open in new ways. So of course, reason. Reason is so important to us, right? We are a people of reason. But with varied themes, we never use what does it mean to be a people of reason. We did 1 year, what does it mean to be a people of inquiry? Now, inquiry is related to but different than a people of reason. Another year we did a people of knowing. Now, knowing is different. Right? Knowing starts to get outside of just the intellectual reason piece and breaks that old theme open in a new way. Tolerance, right? Tolerance is one of our core values. Never done it. Never done the word tolerance. But we have done what does it mean to be a people of humility or a people of vulnerability. So, and we've taken on tolerance through that lens. So we have talked about tradition. So you start off your sermons by saying we are a people of tolerance. But really, what's at the core of that for Unitarians has to do with humility. And our growing edge around tolerance is around humility and vulnerability when it comes to tolerance. Diversity. Another year we took on diversity. We really wanted to get at diversity, and the staff talked about it. We decided that the way we get at diversity, we'd do a month on the theme of deep listening. Because if you're going to be a community, a people of diversity, you can't do that without what? deep listening. You see, I mean, it just breaks open, it helps come out from a whole different...
Why not use the other words? Why not use people of reason?
For what I said, in terms of breaking things open, I mean, the juxtaposition of having a new word or coming at a new way made me think about different things. I will also, let's see, I would also argue when we talk a little later, there's another section where I think we need to be a little savvy about our market and what we know about the nuns, right? Everybody knows the spiritual but not religious folks. It's not just institutions that are turning them off, but the old dusty words. And I think a lot of us sometimes have the attitude, you know, it's like organ music, you know, well, once they're in our church, we'll teach them to love organ music. We'll teach them why organ music is so important. It's sort of the same thing with some of those dusty words. They don't want to come to love, you know. So it relates to them with words that they're using more in their daily life. And again, we did use it in the sermons, it just wasn't the lead thing for the month. Just a different way of getting it in there. We didn't hide it, you know. Is that? Okay, so then the other thing you have to decide is one meta lesson or many meta lessons. Again, remember when I said Tulsa always uses, their theme is always about biblical and theological literacy. They're always, their goal is to make sure, especially in their context in the South, for their folks to be able to engage the religious people around them, whether they're engaging friendly other religious people around them or adversarial people around them. They have to be able to talk the language. And you have to be able in the South, if you're going to make an impact, you have to be able to articulate your version of revelation, your version of God, your version of salvation. You know, and so that's very important to their context. For us, that wasn't as important, so we were able to use sort of the meta lessons. And like I said, you know, we just changed it every year. We've settled on this, what does it mean to be a people of? But again, one year we did do the big words. Another we did the personalities. Another we did spiritual practices. You know, so you have a little bit more flexibility in the other model. These are basic things, and my main point here is it's contextual. It's just that simple. You know your settings. We've had some congregations that, like, there was one brand new congregation that had just got a minister for the first time. They'd been lay that just got a minister for the first time. They did not join our sharing circle because they felt this first year they had to have their themes be related to the principles and the sources, because they felt the theological literacy or the UU identity of their congregation was so thin that for their reasons they had to have the themes fit that context. You know your context. These are really options to be able to help you think through which one fits the needs of your church.
Who just pardon me?
Yeah.
Who decides the themes? Is it from the bottom up, or is it staff led, or now that you're part of this group? You know,
Yeah.
Is that later on, or?
That one I cut out of this.
Okay.
I did cut out. Usually, by the way, we do, and you know, I'm glad to come in with staff or have our staff, do this too. It's usually a day long. So some of these practical nuts and bolts things,
Absolutely.
that is a big process. And it's actually 4 different processes depending on your church culture, your size. So I just won't be able to. I can tell you there is an answer, and I can give you my phone number, and we can talk.
It's a one-day answer.
That's right. I might talk to you for 2 hours on the phone.
Right.
Well, I promise.
Right.
But there is an answer. That again, that's contextual.
Yeah.
That's contextual too. All right, whole hog or staged. This is where I just want to. We've already kind of talked about this, and it's sort of a duh. But as much as I'm being an advocate for driving themes through your entire congregation and the power of that, even we did it in stages. I mean, this is major organizational transformation. And so, the way we did it was just worship and let that sink in, 1 year. Literally the next year was worship in small groups. And we started, we wanted to do worship small groups in RE, but we just felt we couldn't. The RE program was, it was too much sunk into a different model. We hadn't quite moved fully into workshop rotation. So we spent a year setting that up by moving into workshop rotation to set it up. So then year 3 was worship, RE, children's spiritual development and adult spiritual development. And then year 4 was when we started really doing that pressure on all sorts of other groups, encouraging them to take on the theme. Again, it's just a lot of why not do it? There is more work, it's more self-awareness. So, for instance, I really had never, before we did themes, micromanaged the newsletter. Once we did themes, I increased the deadline by 4 days, and I read it 4 days beforehand. And then that gave me time to see what was being advertised in the newsletter, and then I would talk about people, could you rethink or frame it in terms of the theme? Now eventually, I was able to work my way out of a job, and the newsletter editor kind of got that, because I would do it with it. But you have to, it's your kind of the encourager. It's a mindset that you have to take to the entire. I lied about the bookstore. That didn't just happen on its own. And I said, wow, that's great. I bet you could sell more books if you did it by themes. And then her said, no, I don't think that'd be right. And I said, well, what if all of the ministers picked 2 favorites and put it, so Scott's pick, Karn's pick. And that actually worked, and that actually was true, and those books sold out much quicker, especially if we used them. So you got to do little things like that. The movie, one of the things we kept was once a month we had a movie, and Ken just was good Unitarian. You're not going to tell me what to do. You're just not going to tell me what to do. I don't care about these themes. We're doing fine. Well, really, Ken, you're doing fine. So you're 15 people, so which is cool. But I know last week you asked me if I would promote movie night a little bit more from the pulpit. Well, I can do better than that. If you change all your movies to the monthly theme, I will put all of your movies in every small group packet every month that goes out to 600 people, and I will tell all those 600 people in the small groups that going to a movie, to your movie, is a way to dig deeper into their spiritual development on the theme. Suddenly, once a month movie night was on the themes, right? So it's a lot of, and again, that sounds more manipulative than I mean it. But it works. I mean,
right, it is.
It was a little Darth Vader-ish and a little Luke Skywalker, right? Because it was true, right? I was really trying to get him to make movies more than what it was in truth, kind of a quiet dating night, for singles to kind of hook up. This became a spiritual event, not a date night, sort of a hookup night.
What happened to the numbers?
The numbers went up. Now, I'm not going to say they went up to 60, but they went up by about 10. They went up by about 10. So for them, that was huge. I mean, 15 to 25 and 30 felt tremendous for them. It hit a critical mass. I actually thought it would go up a lot more, but it just didn't work out that way. But still, that's a lot. That's a lot.